Hello everyone and welcome back to Slay-Tober. Today's a doozy. Today is a doozy. Yeah. Today is an exposed brain, and although I like how it turned out, I wanted to build it up more around the brain. However, I did this brain piece on my own, which you guys are going to see in the video. We're going to start out with me actually molding this brain and painting it. The plan was to build up around it more to really make it look like it was kind of like popping out. But these little tissue pieces got weighed down very, very much, and it was extremely hard to work around them. And it's extremely hard to do this on yourself. But you know what? For my first exposed brain, okay, and second time doing a Glatson bald cap, I ain't mad at it. I ain't mad, okay? The bald cap, for my second time doing a movie grade bald cap, I ain't mad. I am actually so impressed with myself and how smooth I got the transition around my head, like around my forehead here. I still have to work on the ears, but again, it is extremely hard to do on yourself and look out the side. So yeah, it's gonna take a ton of practice. But yeah, this was just like a gross Halloween look that I saw someone else do, and I saw a few of them. I saw some with zippers and stuff, but I'm like, no, I want to like sculpt my own brain, and then I want to put it on myself, like on a bald cap, so it just makes it look like there's just a brain coming out the front of my head, basically. But honestly, again, for doing a Glatson bald cap for only the second time in my life, sculpting my own brain, and then somehow getting this all on my head, ain't mad. I'm actually super happy with how this turned out. So lots and lots of steps to this look. So get ready, because this one is a doozy. Welcome back to Slay-Tober. Let's get her done. And if you want to find out how I got this look, then please keep watching. We are hopping right on in here, and yes, we're starting with some saran wrap, okay? Because we about to make a brain, and I'm gonna show you how. I went to the craft store and got some molding clay. I spent about $3.50 on the molding clay. It really isn't expensive at all. And I started with some saran wrap and then cut out a piece of like cardstock in the shape of the brain and like the front portion of my head so that I can keep the brain within a certain size. I opened the clay and just rolled it out on my countertop and cut it into strips with a knife, and basically started rolling out the clay into longer strips, and they were about 1/2 inch thick. So you really just want to make sure that you're keeping these super consistent in size. I then put the piece of paper underneath so I could keep it within the certain area that I wanted the brain to be, and I basically started to coil it around in a pattern so that it looked like the coils of a human brain, basically. So I would do one side, and then I'd basically cut the piece of clay in the exact same length and do the same thing to the other side. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think this was gonna turn out too good, but honestly, it turned out way better than I expected. This took me about 15 minutes to do, and it does take a very long time for the clay to dry. You're gonna need probably a good 24 to 48 hours to have it really harden. And it did stick to the saran wrap just a little bit, but I honestly was able to get it off, and I didn't mind because you weren't going to see the under portion of the brain anyway. I used my foam head to create a more curved edge to it so that it fit on my head. And then after it dried a few days later, I went in with some acrylic paint, and I started with a really dark gray, almost black paint, so that it looked like it had a shadow on the bottom portion, like it was deeper within my head, basically. I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway, I decided to do a darker shade, and then after the darker shade, I let that dry, and I went in with a pink shade to make it look more human brain-like, since our brain is actually very gray. I don't know why I chose pink, but anyway, I just felt like it kind of gave it more of a realistic look doing pink on top of the darker black gray shade.
And we're starting out even stronger because look how tired I look. Slay-Tober has taken over my life and I'm pretty tired, but you know what? It's fine. We're going to keep pushing through. And I started out, of course, with my Day Hair Slick Back Cream. This stuff is absolutely my favorite, and I always start a slick back look with this cream. And I have to do a bald cap today, so that's why I'm slicking everything back. Of course, I can't do a proper slick back without my wax stick from Amazon. I had to make sure that it was as flat as possible, and it kills my arms to do this because Margaret be pissing me off all the time. Okay, I can't with her. If you want, use a hard bristle kind of brush to really get back all those tiny baby hairs, and I like to put my hair in a bun at the nape of my neck, and then taking the bald cap and blowing in it with a hairdryer will kind of help it not stick. And you're going to want to have a 100% acetone to blend those edges, and I have to say I crack myself up literally every time I put a ball cap on. It always gets stuck over my eyes and I crack myself up. I'm such a loser. Have plenty of Q-tips with you because that is going to be what you use to blend all the edges. I start by dissolving. Guys, I literally crack myself up. I can't. Your Q-tips and your acetone are going to be what dissolve the edges and also dissolve just any excess bald cap that you have left. I took my Prozade and applied it and then dried it with a hairdryer, and you want to make sure that it goes transparent before you stick down the bald cap so that you can stick it right down and there's no air bubbles or anything, and it just kind of dries nice and smooth. You want to do this all around your forehead and then work on the back portion of your head. It is extremely hard to do on yourself, so definitely if you're gonna try out a ball cap, just be mindful of your hair, because I had to get a ton of adhesive out of my hair because I had to do it on myself, and that's really hard to do. So yeah. But actually, I was really proud of myself for doing such a good job for only my second time of doing a Glotzen bald cap. You're going to want to dissolve a hole in the center of your ear and make sure you kind of keep it small, and then pull your ear through so it's tight at the top of your ear. And then you want to basically start dissolving all of these edges all the way around and keeping it really, really smooth. So once you put makeup over top of it, you basically can't see where the transition line is between your bald cap and your actual skin. It is definitely a lot easier once you get the hang of this. Next up, I am going in with my Temp 2 airbrush and using my Creamy Air foundation. This foundation is absolutely wild. It is, oh, I swear to God, it's semi-permanent. Trying to scrub it off is crazy. But I use like an orangey shade first to cancel out some of my hair. And then I go in with just an ivory shade to match my skin tone, and I airbrush over top of the entire bald cap and my face. And then you're gonna wanna powder it really, really good. I try to go in with my alcohol-based paints and 99% isopropyl alcohol and give it more of like a human look with some reds and some blues and things like that. But it is extremely hard to brush on and really like do that flicking motion with the brush on yourself. So I definitely screwed it up, but I was like, it doesn't matter because I'm gonna have blood in it everywhere anyway. Then I took my brain and I traced out where the brain was gonna be on my head, and that way I knew where to put the Prozade and I didn't have to use like any extra. And then I just waited until it got transparent and stuck on my brain, and it actually stayed, and I couldn't believe how cool it kind of looked. So I was pretty proud of myself by this point. And then I used the tissue paper that my bald cap actually came in, and I started to stick it underneath of the brain. Only thing is that it was sticking to the Prozade, and to work with tissue and all of these adhesives, it kind of like weighs it down. So I tried to go in with some cotton and build up around the brain, but it really just made it so hard to kind of like push the cotton underneath of it. And at this point I was like, you know what? It's fine. I'm just gonna leave the tissue and we're gonna paint it red and make it look like bloody skin, and I'm just gonna have to like take the L on this one. Again, there's gonna be blood everywhere. It's gonna look kind of like cool anyway, so roll with the punches, Jen. So I actually used my alcohol-based paints and just painted all around it to make it look like it was exposed skin there. And then I used my squirt or like drip blood and started to drip blood everywhere, like it was coming straight out of my head, which, you know what? I've been through that before with my head trauma, so this wasn't really too far off. And this is how it turned out. We have an exposed brain. Ew, gross. I honestly loved how this turned out, and I'm really proud of myself. And that's pretty much it, guys. I will see you all tomorrow.